There's a great study that came out from the Ohio State University which showed that 78% of the aerosols that we create in our operatory when we're doing aerosol generating procedures, from our ultrasonics, from our handpieces, from our air water syringes, 78% of those aerosols are coming directly from our procedural water. And in this study, 0% came from aerosolized saliva. So we are not actually aerosolizing our patient's saliva. We are aerosolizing our procedural water. And so is your procedural water safe? It can really hurt people. I hear a comment like, oh, I've been in dentistry for 25 years and I've never killed anyone. And my retort back to that is, this, particularly in the Anaheim case, that those symptoms between those 202 kids that were affected by these contaminated dental unit water, these kids had all had pulpotomies. The symptoms showed up in these kids between 1 day after treatment and 409 days later. You don't know that you haven't hurt anyone.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to a special bonus episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists. I'm your host, Andrew Johnston, and thank you so much for joining us today as we talk about a very important topic, waterlines and waterline safety. So waterline safety, as you probably have seen, it's been a hot topic, especially the last few years. And one of the leading speakers on the subject, Amanda Hill, who you know from this podcast, other podcasts, a speaker, social media, all of the things that she does, she joined us again for this episode to just give us the lowdown of like what needs to be going on. Like, what do we need to be paying attention to? How do we test? What do we test? What are we looking for? All of that. Additionally, we had on Mike Rust, who works for one of the leading companies of waterline safety in ProEdge. And so you'll get to know him a little bit more. You'll hear his passion about keeping people safe. We talk about pathogens. We talk about real life instances where legal action has been brought. We talk about all of the crazy places Amanda has tested water from, like airports and airplanes, hotel fountains, things like that. Probably safe to say, don't drink out of a hotel fountain. That's probably a good idea. But a key takeaway, when you're done listening to this episode, I think one of the things that you're going to learn is just how easy it is to do the right thing. So huge thanks to Amanda and Mike for being on, for giving their time and their knowledge. And huge thanks to ProEdge for sponsoring this episode. Shout out to Erica Flateau for jumping in and co-hosting so many of these episodes with me as we recorded it under one roof. The classic disclaimer, you're going to hear a little bit of background noise from, I think, as we were recording this, I think the vacuum people were vacuuming up and down the halls. So sorry about that. But with that, enjoy this episode with Amanda and Mike.
A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome everyone into the interview portion of the podcast. So excited to be here. So we're still at RDH under one roof. It does sound different, right, Erica? Because it's
definitely
a
different.
lot quieter.
Yes.
And so this is off hours, but we're having a great time here. We're going to talk waterlines today. And so we have Amanda Hill and Mike Rust from ProEdge. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, as the waterline warrior, I would be sad if I got left
cape,
out. With
right?
my cape. My cape is behind me.
So this is an audio podcast. You didn't have to bring the cape.
Well, I just got done speaking upstairs with the cape on, and I did run around the room with the cape flowing behind me.
I know that you do
I have
that.
no doubt.
Yeah, and it was pretty epic.
It really was.
So Amanda, we have a couple things we want to talk about. I would love to hear some kind of highlights of the lecture that you just did and some of the lectures that you have done lately. We definitely need to touch on the importance of waterline safety. However, there's something that you do that is the most unique thing that anyone probably does on social media, and that is you test water literally everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
Wow. Tell us some of the fun places that you've tested water.
Well, I tested my pedicure water, which really confused the poor ladies doing our pedicures, and they spoke to each other and said things that I don't know what they said, and I'm sure they were really wondering what was up. But I got to tell you, the pedicure water failed bad, and now I have to find a new place to have a pedicure.
Hold on.
Before your feet went in, or
I was just going to ask, are they reusing this water, or what's happening?
But my feet were in it. But
That's why they failed.
that's my daughter said the same thing. She's like, it's your fungus. But, now I'm thinking, I have talked to people since I posted that people are like, oh my gosh, like my daughter got MRSA from a pedicure. Anyway, I think some good things to look for before you go to get a pedicure is, do they use a liner? And don't shave your legs before you go get a pedicure. Let's, try to keep intact skin is our best friend. So keeping us safe from any kind of infection.
Check and check.
So, yeah.
Right, Mike?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so watch that, guys.
Andrew and I are going for a pedicure right
my
after
husband
this.
goes and gets pedicures
So
with
does
me. He
mine.
just doesn't shave his legs.
How does he feel about you outing him like that?
I think he's fine with it.
He's
I
all
posted
right.
pictures on
Confident
Facebook.
man.
Craig's good, yeah.
Yeah,
That's all right.
Craig's good with that. But what I've been doing is I've been going around when we're places testing water. Part of it is just because I'm sort of curious and it's fun, but part of it is to bring awareness to the importance of testing your dental unit water. So I've tested on the airplane. I've tested both Delta and Southwest now. So clearly I need to hop on a United flight.
Thank you.
So,
I'm a United guy.
I'm a Delta girl.
How have they fared? Just out of curiosity.
Delta rocked it. I mean, the hot water, the ice, the bathroom water, and the coffee all passed.
Nice.
Southwest has some work to do, friends.
Well, it's low fare. It's
Yeah. So let's not
You
get
get free
ice.
bags.
Right.
Two
The
free
money
bags.
you're saving on
Right.
airfare.
Yeah. So let's not get ice
It's worth
on our
it.
Southwest
to get
flight.
a disease.
Yeah. And please don't brush your teeth in the Southwest bathroom. It does say not potable water, though. Legit,
Well-
for Southwest, they do tell you ahead of time. But,
Well, that's good.
yeah. But you can brush your teeth in the Delta bathroom. No problem. And we're here at the Gaylord at Under One Roof. So I had to do some testing here, right? So, if you've been to a Gaylord, inside a Gaylord, it's like you're outside, but you're inside. And so there's fountains and streams and rivers and whatever. And I need to speak to some management at the Gaylord because the fountain failed.
Well, should it have passed?
I think it should have passed. What do you think, Mike?
I didn't see anyone brushing their teeth in the
No,
fountain.
but let's talk about aerosols. So part of the concern about dental unit water lines isn't simply because we're going to drink the water. Like,
Sure.
you don't tend to take your air water syringe, fill a cup, and drink it, right? I mean, we certainly are spraying it in our patient's mouth, right? But there's a great study that came out from the Ohio State University which showed that 78% of the aerosols that we create in our operatory when we're doing aerosol generating procedures, from our ultrasonics, from our handpieces, from our air water syringes, 78% of those aerosols are coming directly from our procedural water. And in this study, 0% came from aerosolized saliva. So we are not actually aerosolizing our patient's saliva. We are aerosolizing our procedural water. And so is your procedural water safe? And the only way to know that is to test that water, because that water's not going to look cloudy. It's not going to look murky. Yes, once in a while I have sprayed water where you see little black dots and whoo, that's like an extra sign it's time to do something. But it doesn't need black dots in it for it to fail. Beautiful, clean, clear water can have far exceeding the colony forming units, the 500 colony forming units that the EPA says for safe drinking water. And that's the standard that we have just sort of randomly set in dentistry to make sure that our water is safe for our patients and for us. Because those, like I said, those are the aerosols we're making. Those are the aerosols that you clinicians are breathing every single day, all day long. So it does make me wonder a little bit about the fountain. It's funny, as I'm here at the Gaylord, and I remember this from every Gaylord we've stayed in, like my eyes, I have to use like eye drops. It's not from alcohol. It's definitely...
Just from
It's
Not just from
No, yeah.
Solvent.
but yeah,
It's a different atmosphere.
It's a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
an indoor
enclosed,
pool. We all
yeah.
know the indoor pool feel, right? That kind of chlorine-y kind of feel, and so I'm not saying that's what I'm not saying it's the fountain, but it does make me pause. I need to talk to some sort of environmental engineer or something to
I
learn more
saw
about that.
one of the workers this morning out in the water
Yeah.
spraying and cleaning off the sides, though. They were obviously, the water definitely does not look good. But
Yeah.
there is some maintenance. I think that you have a shot there.
Yeah. So yeah, kind
You
of
shock their water.
exactly. Yeah, shocking.
It's a good metaphor. The fountain is a good metaphor for the aerosols that we generate.
Right. It's something important for us to think about as clinicians is about keeping, again, I think often in infection control, we focus so much on the patient, which is very important. But it's really important that we focus on ourselves too. And not just me, the clinician, but my folks in the front office or the people that, bring people in for appointments. And so it's anyone that's in that environment, in that atmosphere, and making sure that atmosphere is safe, that those aerosols are safe, so that your dental unit water is safe. And the cool thing is with a product like Quick Pass by ProEdge, it's so easy to do, and it's actually pretty doggone fun. I mean, if you follow me on
make it
Instagram,
fun.
it's so stinking fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fun to run around and test it and then see, like, ooh, does it grow? I'm so excited, like 48 hours later to be like, ooh, are there dots? Are there dots? Oh, my goodness.
You're so crazy.
Speaking of 48 hours, tell us how you use it. How do you use the little quick pass?
So it's super simple, which is one thing that I think is great about the quick pass is it doesn't, you don't have to like download a big long thing of IFUs and be like, okay, this step. Oh, wait, hang on, this step. Oh, no, now I have to do this step. So you just take the quick pass, you pull out the paddle. It has like a little cup, basically. And in your operatory, if you're testing your dental unit water, you can actually do a pooled sample. And a pooled sample means you can take a little bit of water from your air water syringe, a little bit of water from your power scaler, a little bit of water from your air polisher, a little bit of water from your handpiece, kind of in equal amounts.
That's the critical thing is
That's
that the samples, as long as the samples are the same size, then a pass is a pass. If it's a failure, you don't know which one of those samples caused the failure, but you're going to shock
You're going to shock the whole thing anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you take your little bit of water, you put the paddle back in, you lay it down so that you can see a little membrane, a little graph almost, so it soaks in there for 1 minute. You open it back up, you dump the water, and then you just let it hang out. Doesn't need to be a special temperature, nothing fancy. You let it hang out, and 48 hours later, you look at it and you see. And the nice thing is the quick pass, which is unique to the quick pass, is it has a white background. And so then little red dots, sometimes I've gotten yellow dots too, and kind of greeny, kind of snot-colored dots.
Nice.
Well, that might
it's extra
be
special.
That might be
It's
extra special.
Anyway, so those dots.
That's what we call it. That's the scientific term.
Yeah, it's very. So those dots will grow, and it's easy to read. And you don't even have to sit there and count dots. I remember the very first time I tested water, I legit put on my loops, and I gridded it out, and I was like, 1, 2, 3,
It's human
4.
nature.
And it was like 8,000. And I was like, I mean, frankly, in my take, and Mike, you might not agree with this one, but if I even have like 2 dots, I'm going to do some remediation because it just means that the biofilm party in those lines has begun, and it's time to just let's go ahead and take care of it now before it's a major fail, and then it's going to take 3 shocks to take care of it because that biofilm has really grown. So it's super simple, and they're easy to do. They're affordable, they're economical, and they're fun.
And I noticed you write on them with a Sharpie.
I do.
So you can do like op 1, op 2.
Yeah. And write the date, and maybe even the time so that you make sure you're at least 48 hours, and then look at it again. I always look at it 48 hours later, and then I look at it again 72 hours later, just in case. So I have gotten some late growth sometimes.
There is. Well, we use the fastest growth media we can, but biofilm grows at its own pace.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it's different guys. So different guys grow at different
absolutely.
rates.
Exactly
So,
right.
you got to give it some time.
I love your metaphor about a teenage party at the house without the parents, and you could really extend that metaphor.
Right. Well, so it's, when I talk about like if you've got like a couple dots on your quick pass, it's like that party I threw in high school, where I only invited 4 kids, but 4 kids turned into 8 kids, and 8 kids turned into 16 kids, and 16 kids turned into 32 kids, and 32 kids turned into 64 kids, and so on and so forth. And that's how that biofilm exponentially grows. It's the same as our patients' mouths, right? I mean, when you get one bleeding spot, you're going to be like, I'm going to wait till we have 32 bleeding spots before we do anything, right? No, you're going to be like, all right, let's look at this spot. Like, let's figure out what we can do for hygiene. And so that's part of that sort of system that you'll set up to make sure that you have clean water. The first key is definitely to test your water, make sure it's safe. If you come back as a fail, one of the great things that I love the most about ProEdge as a company is you can actually call them and talk to a legit live person, and they will walk you through how to remediate that. So how to shock your lines, and do you need to shock once, or maybe you need to do that good old triple shock. It's one of my favorites.
Yep.
Yep. So you do it like 3 nights in a row.
Or you could even do it
3
faster.
cycles in a row.
3 cycles in a row.
Depending on what product
and
you use.
You're right about our customer delight team. They're not trying to sell you anything.
That's the term of it, is customer delight team.
Yeah.
I love that.
We need more of that.
And they do not, they don't have a sales bone in their body. And I'm in the sales department, so if anyone wants to buy some ProEdge products, that's okay with me.
Yeah, Mike's the one to
Yeah,
talk
I'm
to.
okay with that, but that's not their deal.
But what it impresses me about the customer delight team is they actually know the IFUs of all the products, whether it's a product they sell or a product they don't sell. Like, they are on top of the IFUs. And in fact, one time they reached out to me because somebody was asking them questions about their instrument ultrasonic. And they were like, we don't know the answers. And I was like, because it's not your job. But anyway, I helped the person with the questions about the instrument ultrasonic. But she still wanted to help them. She still wanted to make sure that like she answered every question, whether it had to do with her product or not.
Can we do a quick review? I feel like it's definitely just for me,
Yeah.
but maybe someone in the audience might also. Let's talk about shocking for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh,
The right way to do it.
that's a
Yeah.
good question.
So shocking is using a strong antimicrobial, so some kind of product, a strong antimicrobial to really just kind of blast the biofilm. So there's lots of products on the market that are out there, and some are stronger than others. And so if you get a major fail, like you have that quick pass and you have so many dots, like you're like, ooh, that's a lot of dots. Like Mike and I were just saying, you probably want to use one of those stronger products, and you probably want to do it 3 cycles in a row. So some shock products are overnight. Some shock products are 10 minutes. Some shock products are 30 minutes. And so it depends on that product. An important thing to know, though, is it's important to look at the instructions for use for your equipment manufacturer, because they might say, we want you to use this product, or we don't want you to use this product. And so make sure that we're not voiding any warranties out there, right? But there's lots of great ones on the market, but read those instructions for use, follow those instructions for use. But then one little tidbit, and I don't know if I'll ever find this in literature. I know you feel the same way, Mike, but don't shock and then test and be like,
Well, you're going to win, right?
You're passed.
Well,
you'll
no,
totally
actually-
you'll totally pass.
Well, that's how we learn that one shock is not always enough.
Right.
So a good shock procedure will do a 1 or 2 or even a 3 log reduction. But if you're at 1 million, you shock once, you're down to 100,000. You want to get down to 1,000 to 100 and to 10. It might take 2 and maybe 3. And really, one shock works 90% of the time, but about 10% of the time it takes 2, and a couple percent of the time it takes 3.
It's kind of, I've made up this story in my head that triple shock, like, I make up a lot of stories in my head.
I love the story already.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that first shock takes off like that protective layer of biofilm, which we know in our patient's mouth, right? We know about these kind of layers of biofilm. It takes off that protective layer of biofilm, and then that second shock gets to more that virulent layer of biofilm, and then that third shock gets to the dead biofilm, and we know that dead biofilm is like food for live biofilm. So it's like the smorgasbord, it's the buffet.
Fun new fact, Amanda.
Tell me.
We have a new PhD at ProEdge, and she taught us that it's not just food, it's shelter. Dead
Oh, it's hidey
biofilm.
spaces?
Dead biofilm is the greatest shelter for live biofilm. So you've given those kids food and a place to reproduce.
Dead biofilm is the blanket fort.
Oh, the blanket fort.
You heard it here, folks,
You
first.
heard it here
The
first.
blanket fort.
All that surface area.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Can we go back?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the products that we use for shocking. Just,
Great. Okay.
Just because, I want to talk about blanket forts forever, but that's just not the podcast. How am I supposed to know which products are lower in strength versus higher in strength?
I'll cut to the chase and
Do
say,
it.
in our experience, which is pretty extensive,
you are the experts in this space.
coming up on 1 million samples, water samples tested.
Dang. Yeah.
So, and that we keep the data for, right? And we ask people what they use to treat and what they use to shock and how recently they shocked. Anonymously, we collect all this data. Anyway, in our experience, the pink stuff from Crosstex, now Q40, it's called Liquid Ultra, gets really good results. 1 to 10 bleach gets really good results. Most equipment manufacturers have authorized the use of 1 to 10 bleach for 10 minutes. Remember, 1 ounce of bleach, 10 ounces of water. Leave it in for 10 minutes.
Set a timer. Set a timer.
Oh, yeah.
Set a
Molinari
timer.
used to say, 10 minutes is good, 11 is too long. That's not really the case, but...
Don't make it like that batch of cookies that you swear you're going to remember to take out of the oven, and then you have black hockey pucks, because we all know what happens. Set a timer.
Because usually 11 is better, right? You go a little bit more, you're going to...
Oh,
Right.
it
Kill some
actually...
Right,
it-
right.
I'm
You'll kill
guilty.
more.
I'm
But
guilty
you'll
of
also
that.
kill your lines and your cup lanes and your
It
things.
is bleach. There's a reason to be cautious, and
Sure.
but that's true with all of them. And I think, Amanda, your point about instructions for use
Yeah.
is great. All of them can get good results. All of them get mixed results, but all of them fail. Every product, the biofilm's going to meaning a combination of the product and the people isn't perfect, right? There's no magic bullet yet. You gotta. This is a cumbersome thing. I know you make it fun, Amanda, but for a lot of people, they struggle to get good
And it's
results.
super annoying to have to do. Let's be honest. Like, working that into our workflow, it's so inconvenient.
And when they keep struggling to pass, that when they finally pass, it's a kind of a nice thing. They do the happy dance on their social media or whatever.
Speaking of which, seriously, folks, you should be putting this on your social media, on your office's social media, because at some point very soon, I keep saying this, the Anaheim case is going to finish settling, and it's going to hit the news.
Yep.
This is a case where 202 children were affected by contaminated water, and then we just had another case that just came out. The second case in Georgia has just happened, and there was a CDC Health Advisory Network alert. And so these are going to hit the news, and then our patients are going to hear about it. And if your patients already know, oh, my office actually, I know they test water. Like they post their quick pass on social media, like, hey, here's Susie testing water. Then when that 60-minute special comes out again, there's
Right.
no worry. They'll be like, oh, I know my office is good. So use that infection
Great
control
marketing tool.
as a marketing tool.
It
love
It
really
takes
is.
time and money. Why not use it?
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
if you're going to do all that work, brag about it. Like you brag about your other infection control procedures. Everybody kind of does.
or your
That's-
perfect composites that you do, or your great
Exactly.
looking crowns that you do. Like if
Yeah.
you do excellence, put it out there.
Yeah.
It is. It's internal marketing. It's soft marketing, but it's effective.
So we have shocking, and then we also have treating of our lines. And what I like to say, and I know Mike likes to I actually stole it from Mike. So what Mike likes to say, but I've given it my spin, is that shocking is like a perio maintenance visit. So shocking is when your patient comes in and you're using, subgingival air polishing, and you're, scaling with your power scalers, and you're getting in those furcations, and you're getting that mouth as, as clean and that blasting through that biofilm as much as you can. So that's shocking. That's that treatment. But you would never say to your patient, oh my gosh, I am such a good hygienist. I'm so good at this. You do not have to brush or floss for 3 months. Like, I've got this down. No, you give them oral hygiene instruction. You have them brush, you have them floss, you have them water pick, you have them wear perio protect trays. Like, you have them doing all of these things because that's treating your lines. So treating your lines is using a low-level antimicrobial, whether it's daily or weekly, depending on what you pick, that keeps that biofilm level low, and so that you can stay in that passing zone. And so that's kind of the difference between shocking and treating your lines. So you want to shock, you want to treat, and then you want to test. Typically, the recommendation for testing, if your chair or your product doesn't say, is to test monthly until you pass for 2 consecutive months and then go to quarterly testing. That's what OSAP says. That's what ProEdge says.
And that's what most of the
Yeah.
equipment manufacturers now say.
Which is new. It's
Yeah.
new that they're saying that. And then if you fail, you start over again. You go back to that monthly because, again, we know that biofilm likes to grow back, and we want to make sure that we're, testing and we're on top of it if you're going to get that bounce back fail.
We have recommendations for treatment as well, as far as product goes.
Yeah, well, my favorite would be, of course, the ProEdge products, But
Tell us more about it.
So ProEdge has 2 options for you. They have a Blue Tab, which is a little tablet that you pop in your dental unit water bottle, or you can actually even mix it in a big gallon jug. You just got to do math. Math is hard. But you got to how many, things do I put in? And then you can fill your bottles. And that water actually is good for 28 days. So if you mix it in a jug and you're just topping stuff off, you're good. It's 28 days.
Mm-hmm.
Or if that's too cumbersome and you don't want to do that, they do have treatment straws. And so you can remove that uptake straw in your dental water bottle, and you can do that treatment straw that just kind of delivers that antimicrobial. Now, if you're like, Amanda, I don't have that bottle, all I can say to you is it's time to get the bottle.
Yes.
You need to get the bottle. It's not expensive. You call your service tech. Back when my office did it, it was before COVID, so it was about $100 a chair. So now it's after COVID, so what, it's $300 a chair?
At
You're right.
least.
I think.
170 is the MSRP for one, and you buy
There you
it
go.
from the parts department. Your service technician installs it, and occasionally they might be on. They're probably not on sale. It's a part. It's not a merchandise
Okay.
item, but it's cheaper than you think.
Yeah.
And as soon as you have a water bottle, you can have clean water in 10 minutes and rest easy, sleep good.
Yeah.
Brag about it on
social media.
There you go.
What do you have in your office? You want a straw? You like the straw, or you do tabs?
We actually had straws, and the office decided that they wanted to use tabs. And so everybody moved back to tabs.
Which is obviously fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But what was the rationale? Like, why would one office pick one versus the other?
My office liked the idea that they were daily sort of involved in the Waterline process. And so they're like, no, we feel really good about putting a tab in. And then it's like, yep, we're doing it. And so they decided that was an easier flow for them than using the straws.
How long does the straws usually last?
So ProEdge actually has a really unique straw. They're the only ones that have a 6-month straw. So it's like it has its own little recall. But the reason that is that what they were discovering from all their Waterline tests, their million tests, that folks that were using straws often were failing around the 7 to 8 month mark because the active ingredient was dipping below 1 part per million. And so as it was dipping below 1 part per million, it was starting to just get some failure. So they decided, hey, what if we just did a 6 month straw and then we brought it back up, to that peak, and that way we'd stay in that passing zone. The straw, they say, the other companies that have a straw, they say it's good for a year or 240 liters. And to me, that's a little bit like my car warranty. Like my car was 5 years, 500,000 miles, but I got to 500,000 miles in 2.5 years. And so my warranty is like, how do I know when I'm at 240 liters? Not like
exactly.
1, 2.
Yeah, no,
I
exactly.
can't do it.
And people are busy these days, right?
Yeah.
People were going through a little more water than we might think or than we might know. And it wasn't even us. It was really John Molinari had looked at 22,000 water test results and said that the straws, by and large, pass about 70% of the time. And it's not because the product is no good. It's because a year is a long time to go without shocking and getting a fresh start.
Yeah.
Well, and then are you finding, so many offices just have done this out of the, integrity, but are you finding that states now are starting to actually check? Because in my home state of Washington, we are now being required to report that. So
we love Washington.
Yeah.
Yes, we do,
Washington.
dang it.
I tell you, way to go, Washington. Washington is the only state that has made a whole separate,
It's a statute. It's on
Statute,
the books.
yeah.
A dentist shall test his lines every 90 days.
And oh my goodness, one of the guys that was part of that spoke at OSAP a year ago, and that poor guy got death threats. People were angry about being required to follow the rules.
Because it's coming soon to a state near you.
Right.
Quarterly water testing is a mandate. That's what I know. It's. I feel.
To me, I think it should be an OSHA thing. We like to play is it a guideline? Is it a recommendation? What is it? This is what I'm breathing. This is worker safety.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, though. So Washington has it. You have a lot of DSOs that would have maybe offices in Washington, but then other states. They also are, kind of mandating across their internal company protocols. I know. Sorry, it's really interesting. We don't have all the excitement for the exhibitors anymore, but we know when they vacuum now. So sorry about that, audience.
And they're
So if
making
people- we
circles around
should've-
us vacuuming.
It's
I swear,
there's
it's just
other,
circles.
There's other areas,
There's
guys.
nobody
go somewhere
here
else.
except the guy with a big vacuum.
He wants to know about Waterline safety.
He has been eavesdropping a little bit. But to that point, though, I think it's you're right. It's not going to take too much longer before it's just spreading out.
Yeah.
Because the bigger companies that have multi-state offices have to follow the most strict of every state.
Yeah.
And they're going to implement that.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And you can really hurt people. I hear a comment like, "Oh, I've been in dentistry for 25 years and I've never killed anyone." And my retort back to that is, it's particularly in the Anaheim case, that those symptoms between those 202 kids that were affected by these contaminated dental unit water, these kids that all had pulpotomies, the symptoms showed up in these kids between 1 day after treatment and 409 days later. The last kid that got very sick was those symptoms showed up 409 days later. And so it's kind of like that gurgly stomach. You're like, oh, is it the Thai food? Was it the cart at Target? Where did that come from? And so I think in the past, we didn't know, that person that got that abscess, that person that got that infection, we didn't know to tie it back to their Waterlines. But the fact that this was such a huge case and public health was tracking each person, then they were able to then completely link that last patient with those Waterlines. And so you don't know that you haven't hurt anyone.
The mean was 90 days almost.
Yeah.
90 days before any symptoms showed up. But that means kids might go to the emergency room and they say, "Ooh, you've got a big lymphadenitis abscess here.
Yeah.
Did you go to the dentist recently?" And the chances are you're going to say, "No, we haven't been to the dentist for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months."
Yeah.
So let's talk to the new grads, the younger generations. I not that us veterans don't need this information, because we definitely do. But what messages do you have for them?
The big message I have for them is that you're brand new in your career, and let's make sure you have a really healthy, long career. And that is part of making sure that what you're breathing in your office is safe. And I want to empower new grads to go into their office and be like, I am the most up to date that I can be. And even if you didn't learn about this in school, I'm sorry, I'm working on it. But I am the most up to date that I can be, and go in with the confidence to say, no, this is really important, and this is why. And one of the coolest things, a nice little hack, is go onto ProEdge, get a free quick pass.
Yep.
test your operatory and bring it to your next staff meeting. Be like, hey guys, check it out. And if you're a pass, woohoo, way to go. And if you fail, that's a really great way and kind of a non-biased way to bring that conversation to the forefront and be like, hey, listen, I got this test. This is what it means, and this is what we have to do, and this is for my safety. This is for your safety. I'll have less sick days.
Oh, that's a good one.
Maybe
yeah.
I don't have an upper respiratory infection because I'm not breathing contaminated water all day, and then I'm not out of work. And so let's make sure that we're taking care of this. And so have that confidence to know that this matters for your patients and for you.
No, I love it. Thank you both so much for being here. If they wanted to reach out, if they had more questions, if they had a question that we didn't ask that they want to know the answer to, how can they reach either of you?
You can find me at Amanda Hill RDH on all the socials, but you should check out ProEdge and the Customer Delight team. How do you do that, Mike?
At Amanda Hill. No, just go to proedgedental.com. There's plenty of places you can just click schedule a consult, and boom, you're in touch with somebody who's not going to sell you anything. They're just going to try to help you out and help you get started. And we're generous with samples. I think we've given away
That's awesome.
millions of water test samples.
Yeah, I guarantee Mike will send you a free quick pass if you ask him.
I will. Absolutely.
That's huge. Thank you again so much for being here, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.